When we think of the GOAT debate today in the NBA, it seems like only two names get mentioned: Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Before the meteoric rise of LeBron and the evolution of the NBA game that we have seen in the last 10 to 20 years, you always heard guys named like Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and even for a while Kobe Bryant's name tossed into the mix for that. However, with us aging and the game changing, we have pushed names to the side for the sake of the new blood. Which isn't a bad thing per se. It happens in pretty much every sport. The problem is we pushed out a name that should never have been taken out of the equation and should never be taken out of the equation when it comes to NBA and even basketball's GOAT debate. I think it's pretty obvious who that is, but I'm going to say it for those in the back: Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, my co-host Big Naj and I did an NBA top 5 a few months ago. Cheap plug for the podcast. And here's our list. As you can see, I had Kareem as number 2 in the greatest top 5, and Big Naj had him number 3. I think that's fair on both accounts. But nowadays, it seems as if he is a distant 3, and that his legendary resume somehow pales in comparison to those of Michael Jordan and LeBron James, without question. I even bought into that opinion. However, it was when I was listening to Rasheed Wallace on his podcast, and he brought up who is his GOAT and why.
So who is your GOAT? We were debating this before because we disagree here. Who is your GOAT?
For me,
For you.
my GOAT is the captain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Why?
He's won multiple championships on every level. He's won at least 3 championships in the PSLs. That's the public school league in New York, for those who aren't familiar with it. PSLs. He won at least 3 championships at UCLA, where he was a significant part.
Definitely.
And then the won one championship with the old school Bucks, the 70s Bucks.
The big O.
Then won, 4 or 5 with
5.
LA. All he know is winning.
It reopened my eyes to just how much we overlook Kareem's career. Whether he was Lou Alcindor on the Milwaukee Bucks or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the Los Angeles Lakers, one fact remains: he held the scoring title for longer than many of you listening have been alive. He's a 6-time NBA champion, winning with 2 different teams. He's a 6-time NBA MVP, 19-time NBA All-Star, 15 times on an All-NBA team, 11-time All-Defensive team. He won 68.8% of his games and 65% of his playoff games. For comparison, LeBron James has won 64.6% of his games and 64.5% in the playoffs. Michael Jordan left the game with winning 65.9% of his games and 66.5% in the playoffs. So while not a huge difference, just shows Kareem was a winner on par with both of them. So why does it seem like Kareem has been completely pushed out of the debate? I have 3 reasons I believe sports media and fans have turned the other way when it comes to Kareem.
But YouTube, before I get into that, please like and subscribe to the channel. Everything helps, and we're trying to reach that 1,000 sub goal. So thank you guys. And also, if you enjoy podcasts, and we all do, check out the GOATcast podcast on my second channel. Link will be in the description. Myself and Big Naj talk about all things NBA, past, present, and even future. So check that out. Thank you.
This is why I feel Tim Duncan and most big men in general don't get the props they deserve. Playing the center/power forward role is not as sexy as, say, the shooting guard or small forward, who has the ball in their hands a lot to slash to the basket and dazzle with crossovers and spin moves. Instead, the big men, especially of old, were back to the basket, pound it down to the rim, and score. Not as aesthetically pleasing to the eyes as a step-back 3 or face-up dunk. Unless you're a guy like Shaq that just puts you in awe of his size and athleticism, you weren't getting heavy highlights on SportsCenter. Having left the game as the highest scorer of all time, it was pretty much a consensus that he was the greatest at that time. Really, his only challenges at the time were Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain, but Bill wasn't nearly the offensive nightmare Kareem could be, and Wilt paled in comparison when it came to rings. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were still trying to build their resume, and Jordan was just getting started. As Bird and Magic kind of fizzled in their final years and Jordan had such a meteoric rise, It was just MJ and Kareem to be discussed as the greatest for many, many years. So why do I say his style is the reason we forget him so easily? Kareem wasn't a flashy player. He had finesse, especially with his patented sky hook shot, probably the most unstoppable move in the NBA past and present. But he wasn't a scorer that made you jump out of your seat with highlights. Comparing him to someone in today's game, I'd go with him being a Giannis type. That's going to get you numbers in bunches, but be forgettable since it kind of became common for him to do those things. Even when he took his talents to LA to play with the Lakers and they drafted Magic a few years later, his game was spotlighted with the Showtime Lakers. But with a guy like Magic Johnson wowing crowds, his consistent 20-plus and 10-ish boards a night were often overlooked. So maybe that is what it is. Like I said earlier with Tim Duncan, their games aren't flashy. Their points don't come in emphatic fashion. Their highlights aren't going to make it on a sports show. But you can bet they'll highlight their stats as they were double-double machines. Even Kareem himself said the skyhook was an unsexy go-to move. It's much easier to sell Jordan and James as the greatest because their highlight packages are easy to invest in and are exciting to watch. Sadly, Kareem's aren't for the casual fan, but for us basketball fanatics, watching him dominate in the post, watching him able to perfect the sky hook, a move I tried daily on the blacktop but could never get it to go consistently, watching him play the high-low game and pass with perfection to his teammates to get them in a prime position. The unfortunate truth is we put our stamp on the greatest on those that have entertained us the most, which is one of the reasons Kareem is now very much overlooked. This happens in everything in life, whether it be sports, music, movies, etc. We are prisoners of the moment. We're a what have you done for me lately nation. Kareem retired in 1989, so he's been away from the game for over 30 years now. With this fact, it's a testament to Michael Jordan's career that 20 plus years later, he's still in almost every conversation about the GOAT daily. With that said, it's harder for the older generation to get the same type of love as the new one. This is why we have the ridiculous we're done with the 90s craze that has taken over social media. Because Kareem played back to the basket fundamental big man basketball, he's not going to get the nod over a guy like LeBron James, who is doing things all over the court. So the eye test says he's doing more, even though that might not be the whole truth. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played 21 seasons in the NBA, between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Los Angeles Lakers. In those 21 seasons, he played 1,560 games, winning 1,074 of them. You do the math. In that, he totaled a win share of 273.4. And if you don't know what win shares are, they are an estimate of the number of wins contributed by a player. So compare that to LeBron James, who is still playing but has played 1,481 games and has 956 of them, and counting, and contributed a win share of 261.9. So Jabbar played 79 more games but won 118 more games. And if you know me, I base a lot of my rankings in the GOAT debate on winning. So Kareem was a winner and contributed to his team's winning slightly more than LeBron did, based on the win share analysis. It's a little harder to compare his to Jordan because Jordan only played in 15 seasons and two of them only played a handful of games. But to be fair to the analysis, Jordan played in only 1,072 games and won 706 of them. His win share number is 214. So as you see, Kareem won more games than Mike actually played. But as the years go by, we don't really care about those numbers and those accolades because of how the game is constantly evolving and growing, and now fans and even content creators see that era as an ancient one that is far inferior to the faster, freer game we see today. Due to that evolution, I see some fans, very young fans, questioning how a player that has a 0 3-point percentage can be considered the GOAT. But these are the times we are in. It's hard to keep your name in the minds of the fans when you're decades removed from a sport. So it's not surprising that Kareem is overlooked these days. We know how it goes now in the age of social media and sports talk shows. If there's a narrative to push, they will. If the GOAT debate was never pushed into our psyche, we would probably enjoy these current basketball years and be able to fondly reminisce on the days of old. But because the debate has become so intense, it's almost similar to the current political landscape. It's frowned on to not pick a side. You either have to be pro LeBron or pro Jordan, or you just don't know basketball, or you're an old head. That's just the way things are. Kareem is not going to get clicks. Kareem is not going to get likes. Kareem is not going to get shares. Kareem is not going to get retweets. So why would Stephen A. Smith rank him up on First Take, Skip Bayless on Undisputed, Nick Wright, Shannon Sharp, content creators like Dreamers Pro, and so on? I was even apprehensive on putting this together, but I just felt it needed to be said. His name will always be brought up when talking about the best of the best, much like Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain, as they stamp their name on the game in a way that cannot be fully ignored. Unfortunately, his name will likely be brought up just in passing by and nothing extensive when he's talked about. But do yourself a service. If you're a young basketball player, a fan, or just a casual, go back and catch some of Kareem's highlights and how iconic that skyhook really became. Check out his battles with Wilt Chamberlain, Hakeem Olajuwon, the Bad Boy Pistons, and even Jordan himself to see one of the greats doing his thing. So these are my 3 reasons why I feel Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is greatly overlooked. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know what you think in the comments section. And if you want to ascend to GOAT status like number 23, please like and subscribe to the channel. Closing in on 1,000 subs, and I thank each of you for all of your support. Be back soon with more content. Thank you.